Are you messing with? All right, just tell me when. Welcome to the ballpark right now for the second game of the Bundesliga quarterfinals between the league-leading and still undefeated Bonn Capitals and the Doran Wild Farmers. Hey, my name is Brent Kerrigan, and I'm happy to be here in the booth with Angela Beckman, Max Paulus, and Fabian Tasing, who will be bringing you the game for today. And do we have an exciting day of baseball for you? Bonn won the first game last night by a huge margin, scoring 14 runs in the first inning. Took about 50 minutes to play, and they eventually won the game 21-5. They're looking to win their second game this afternoon and wrap up the series. If they lose, the Bonn Capitals, if they lose this game now we're playing, we will play a game 3 after this one. Of course, if they win, the series is over. We are, however, expecting a tighter game today. Marcus Jensen's on the hill for Bonn. He's 1-0 in the season with a 2.75 ERA and 17 strikeouts. And let's not forget that the Wild Farmers, despite last night's loss, are still a very good team capable of winning. They have Jaspreet Shergill on the mound. He's got an impressive 26 strikeouts on the season, a 3-2 record, and a 4.91 ERA. All right, let's get to the lineups for today's game. We'll start with the visiting team, the Wild Farmers. To lead off, Zaino Enriquez will be playing second base. He'll be followed by Orlando Del Muro. He is the catcher. Number 3 batter today is Edvardas Matusavicius. He's in center field. Mike MK is a cleanup batter. He's playing first base. Sebastian Jeb is the DH for today and batting fifth. Wester Bocio Cabral is playing left field. Alejandro Giraldo is at shortstop. Yannick Buhala is in right field. And to round out the order, Henry Guerra is at third base today for the Wild Farmers. Now, for your Bonn Capitals, the lineup to lead things off is the extremely hot-hitting Eric Brank. He had a game yesterday evening, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. He's going to be playing, as usual, shortstop today. He'll be followed by number 2 hitter, Joe Wittig. He'll be playing third base, followed by Vinny Aarons. He's the catcher. Terrell Joyce is your cleanup batter in center field. Daniel Lamhunt batting fifth and playing first base. Wilson Lee in left. Daniel Lankhorst is in right field. Danny Michelli is your number 8 batter. He's the DH. And to round out the order, Eddie Stummel at second base. Angela, it was quite the game last night. And, you know, it wasn't a close game. It was a bit of a blowout, obviously. But what should fans expect today?
First of all, we won't see another first game as we have seen yesterday. We had a 14-0 lead by the Capitals, and the first inning lasts 50 minutes. I'm sure it will not happen today. What we have to expect is that always the Doran Wild Farmers, it's starting already, come up much stronger in their second game of a weekend. Right. So we have to expect them strong.
Indeed, indeed. And we are ready to play as the umpire says, game on. First batter is Zaino Enriquez. Takes a strike from Marcus Jensen, who's on the hill today. And we said at the outset that his ERA is 2.75 on the year. Now, he's pitched about 20 innings. He's about 18 hits off him. Swing and a miss, 0-2 count. He's already got Enriquez in the hole. He's given up 4 walks on the season, but he has an impressive 17 strikeouts. So Bonn looking to Jensen to get in game number 2 rolling in a positive direction. That one rolls into the plate. A 1-2 count. Enriquez crouching down. He's got that lower stance. And a hit just over into the stands on the third base side. Sun shining brightly right now, but there are there's a lot of thick clouds above us. Hopefully they are not full of rain, and that particular rain will hold off till later in the day, if at all. And a sharp hit into center field. That looks like a single for Enriquez. So right off the bat, the Wild Farmers get a runner on. That'll bring up number 2 hitter, Orlando Del Muro, for the Wild Farmers. He's the catcher for today, and he's batting .318 on the season. Del Muro had 2 walks yesterday and flew out to center field. He did come around twice to score, and he shows bunt here. Doran obviously trying to get out into a more aggressive position than they did yesterday. They were really by the time they got up, the game was effectively over yesterday. They were losing 14-0. He lays a bunt down, but it rolls foul. 0-2. Or sorry, 1-1. Enriquez was not running on that play. So there's either a missed call on that, some other decision. Jensen sets and delivers. Runner not going, foul back. Now the count is 1-2. See someone with a Mets jersey walking by. I'd like to send my condolences to the New York Mets, who lost to the MLB's best team, Toronto Blue Jays. And a hit out into the shortstop. Bobbled, but thrown on to first. Too late. Too late as Brent bobbled that ball. And Del Muro legs it out. So nobody out. 2 runners on. Enriquez at second, Del Muro at first. And at the plate is Edvardas Matusavicius. He's your center fielder for today. Comes in for a strike. Already the Wild Farmers are showing a little more life than they did yesterday. I saw them out doing some batting practice earlier. Looking good. Obviously ready to go. But Bonn is always a very strong, very hot at the plate, is one way to put it, team. That comes in for a strike as well, 0-2. Runners take their lead. Not much coverage at second, or first for that matter. That comes in for a ball. No shadows to speak of on the field, except perhaps in center field. A little bit as the sun is overhead. The wind is pretty much non-existent. Flags hanging limply in center field. Jensen looks into Aarons. Looks at the runner. Delivers. Foul back. Runner's taking a healthy lead. Enriquez at second base. It's a third of a way down to third on that lead. But no indication he's going. Not with your third and fourth batters coming up. Bit of a change up there and fouls it back. Count remains 1-2. Nobody out here. Just getting the game underway. If you just joined us, no score yet. Top of the first inning. Inside, ball 2. Your umpires for today. Jason Lilibo is at home plate. Andre Reuter is at third base. And Dirk Beal is your first base umpire. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. Matsuvicius goes down on strikes as Jensen claims his first victim today. And that'll bring up the cleanup hitter, Mike Emke. He's playing first base today for the Wild Farmers. MK struck out yesterday in his first at-bat, flew out to left field the second time, and I believe that he's the one that there was a called third strike and raced down to first base. If my scorecard is correct, I have passed ball. He got strikeout. So, swings and misses at that first pitch. 0-1. Lamb Hunt playing off the base at first. And a hit and a foul ball down the right field line. Got a little bit too much in front of that. Left-handed hitter MK did. Yeah, it appears that the umpire has called a balk on that play. So the runners move up, second and third. Henriquez on third, Del Muro on second for the Wild Farmers. Jensen's got MK in the hole. 0-2 count, delivery, and it's low for a ball. I didn't see the balk on that.
Yeah, I didn't see either, but there's no other reason why they can move forward.
Sorry, I turned your mic up here, Angela. Sorry about that.
That seems to be the only reason why they moved.
Yes, and another foul down the right field line. Yeah, I didn't see a throw over to first. I didn't. We'll have to ask about that. In any case, runners at third, runners at second, 1 out, 0-0 is the score top of the first inning. Jensen on the hill for Bonn. MK at the plate, one chopper down to first base, steps on first, no play at home plate, and the runner moves up to third. So already 1-0 Wild Farmers. As MK grounds out to first but gets the RBI on that play. Sebastian Yap is the fifth batter today. He's the DH. He's batting .323 on the season. And with Enriquez coming around to score, that puts Del Muro at third base. Yap had a single yesterday and grounded out to third base. Came around to score, though, in the third inning of yesterday's game. 1-1 is the count. 2 out here. 0-0 score. That ball goes outside. So, Angela, Wild Farmers have what they want, and that's an early lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for them, it was or is important to start better than yesterday, so which they did. I mean, of course, the chance was a little bit easier because they are betting first.
Certainly. Yesterday, of course, Bonn was the visiting team, even though we're playing in Bonn. Just the way the quarterfinals go. And a single between first and second base. That'll score Del Muro, as it is now 2-0 Wild Farmers early on here in the first inning. Very clean single, split the first and second base. And Yap is on with a single RBI. That'll bring up to the plate Wester Bocio Cabral. He's batting .341, so a strong mid-order here. Number 8 on his back, playing left field today. Jensen hoping to limit the damage, is already 2 runs scored. And a jumper out to second base. Scoops it on to first, and that'll end the... Oh, hold on a second. But now, Lamb Hunt bobbled the ball, but the play had already been completed, so the umpire says that's an out. And we go to the bottom of the first inning, 2-0 Bonn. We'll be right back on Caps TV. And welcome back to Bonn, where the score is 2-0, and we're welcomed back into the game by the soothing tones of Eminem. Now, Bonn is behind 2-0, but bringing at the plate first is Eric Brank, who had himself a game yesterday, and he gets a good round of applause, and deservedly so. He had 2 doubles, 1 single, and 2 walks as the leadoff guy yesterday. And that will get things going on any team. Jaspreet Shergill delivers the first pitch, and it's a ball. And what do we know about Jaspreet Shergill? Well, we know he's got a 3-2 record, 33 innings pitched, 24 runs given up, 21 walks. So he walks his fair share of guys, and 26 strikeouts. So that's a strike there. 4.91 ERA. Bonn has seen him this season already. He pitched the second game against Bonn earlier this season on June 6th. He pitched 5 innings. As we see Brank swing and miss, and the count is now 1-2. In that last game, he gave up 10 hits, 11 runs. He had 1 strikeout and 7 walks. Now, that was the first game of the season. He got a bit better after that, but Bonn has hit this guy before. We'll see what they do today. Brank swings and misses. I believe that
got a piece of it.
It got a piece of it, yeah, so it's a foul tip. And he stays alive. Shergill has this delivery where he will go almost full sidearm at times, and other times he'll come a little more over the top. I would assume that if it's a specific pitch, we see there he goes over the top. One would think that there's a specific pitch attached to that sidearm delivery, so it shouldn't be too hard for Bonn, one would think, to know what pitch is coming once he goes to that sidearm. And there's the sidearm. Check swing. Check down to first. Umpire says he did not go around. 2-2.
3-2.
Sorry, 3-2 is the count.
In my count, so yeah, full count.
I got to remember not to rely on that scoreboard quite as much. Shergill looks in, delivery, the full count, and a hit down to third base, scooped up, thrown on to first, and there's 1 out in the inning. So Eric Brank is retired, and Joe Vittig comes up. He's a third baseman today, hitting .391 on the season. What did Vittig do yesterday? Well, he was hit by a pitch, and he came around to score twice in that first inning, by the way. It flew out to left, it got a single, and grounded out to the pitcher. Vittig batting left-handed. Shergill gets a strike. So the Wild Farmers pinning their hopes on Shergill today. Sidearm delivery, outside. Vittig wearing number 45 from the United States. And a hit down the right field line. If it's fair, it is good, and it's in the corner. And now Vittig rounds first into second. The throw, and the second baseman misses the ball, and so does the shortstop on the cut. Goes all the way to the fence, but Vittig stays at second base. So Vittig is the first base runner for the Bonn Capitals with his double. Gets a little dirty. Sliding into second base. I'm sure he doesn't mind at all. That'll bring to the plate Vinny Aarons.
Actually, I have a deal with Vinny Aarons today.
What's the deal?
He hits a home run and he gets a beer from me. So.
Now, if that's not motivation, I don't know what is.
I mean, not necessarily at his first at bat, but during the game. So
now,
you never know.
What if he gets 4?
Then he gets 4 beer.
Better take his keys.
No alcoholics here. Yeah,
of
that's
course.
true.
And fouled back.
Because Vinny is keen to get home runs, but I think he had 3 so far this season, so...
Right. One is the count. I'm trying to do some research for you right now, Angela. Yeah, so home runs on the season 2.
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
1-1 count here, 1 out, runner on second, and quite a lead for Joe Vidic at second, dancing around out there trying to distract
But that's typically
Shergill.
Joe Vidic.
And Shergill keeps looking at him.
That is Joe Vidic.
I'll tell you.
Dancing all the time.
I'll tell you, he could enter a competition with that dancing. That's something. On Germany's Got Talent with that.
Yes. Let's Dance is the show.
Let's Dance.
The show is called Let's Dance.
So it's not a bad tactic because Shergill has been paying attention to him. And the more he pays attention to that runner, the less he's paying attention to the batter.
It's so funny.
Aaron swings and misses. 2-2 is the count. 1 out. It's a show within a show. Aaron's at the plate. The pitch is outside, so already, I mean, that is the reason why Vidic is doing what he's doing at second.
And that's the reason why, of course, it's also worth it to come to the ballpark, because then you
Exactly.
could see what's going on here in the whole ballpark. So we have a full count here.
And a swing and just foul down the first baseline. Yeah, you can see Bud Vidig on second with a double. Aaron's at the plate. Aaron's also scored yesterday. Shergill's got his... He throws over, but there's nobody there. At second, and he had to think twice and throw to where the shortstop actually was, which is about 10 feet over from the base. And Aaron's rightfully so, asking if that was a legitimate throw over. The umpire says yes, it was.
I have no idea what the rule is with that. So
Well, as long as you step off the rubber, you should be able to throw pretty much anywhere. But Shergill would be, I think, be well served to just ignore Vidig at second because he's playing right into his hands. And a hit down to first baseman. First baseman scoops it up, steps on first, but Vidig dances down to third base with 2 out. Now bring to the plate hot hitting Terrell Joyce. I think we've been saying that all year.
yeah, so a home run yesterday, 8 home runs on the season.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Angela, that home run he hit yesterday took a nice little sail over the center field wall.
Yeah, it was a very smooth movement, so easy going.
Yeah, very nice hit. Vidig, big lead at 30, runs halfway down the line. He knows Jaspreet Shergill is being distracted in a strike to Terrell Joyce. You know, it's interesting if there's any young boys or girls watching the game. It's not a bad idea when you're on base. You don't just stand there. It's a good idea to try and get that pitcher's attention so he's not as focused at the plate. And the second strike comes in. Doesn't seem to have any problem right now focusing on Terrell Joyce. Joyce already an imposing figure at the plate. He just has that, again, we were talking about that yesterday, he just has that look. He can hit a ball. Calls for time, umpire grants it. Daniel M. Hunt on deck, hoping for his turn. 2 out here. As the crowd begins clapping. Outside, 1-2. Terrell Joyce had a big Champions Cup series as well. That was earlier, last week. And bounces one into the plate. Vidig comes almost halfway down. Not much coverage at third. No coverage, and he knows it. So Terrell Joyce, early on, was 0-2 count against him. Has now fought back to even the count at 2-2. Good crowd here today. Two count delivery. Swing and a miss. He strikes out to end the inning, leaving Vidig stranded on third base. We head to the top of the second here in Bonn. Wild Farmers 2-0 over the Caps so far. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back, welcome back. It is 2-0 Wild Farmers over the Capitals. So far in the top of the second inning, and at the plate is Alejandro Giraldo. He is your shortstop for the Wild Farmers today. And the immediate first pitch sends one into right field, but easily scooped up and with the glove. Nice little flourish there by Langhorst. One out, just like that. I'll bring to the plate, as I turn my microphone down a bit so nobody gets blasted, Yannick Buchala. He is the right fielder today. Now his average, the 8 and 9 hitters of the Wild Farmers order, not necessarily hot hitters according to the statistics. 130 is the average for Yannick Buchala as he takes a ball, followed by Henry Guerra will be up next, and he's batting 143. So Jansen would be well served to get these guys early on. But he sends one into right field again. Lancourt says, I've done this before. Grabs it, and just like that, there's 2 out. Why not make it 3? We'll see. That'll bring up, as I said, Henry Guerra. See if I can get 3-9 circled on this scorecard, Angela.
More room today than yesterday.
More room. My scorecard from yesterday, we thought maybe we'd see a third timer in the order come around.
Honestly, it looks like first grader. Like a first grader.
It does. With the spelling, with my illegible printing, one would think it could be from a first grader. So 2-0 is the count on Guerra. The umpire says that also looked like a ball, but it looked not too shabby to me. Me, who is not being paid to be the umpire today. Jensen throws a strike to Guerra, who watched that come in, hoping for a
I mean,
ball.
you are not getting paid.
for umpiring, but I'm getting
No.
paid huge for the
Yeah, of
announcing.
course. I mean, commentator job is something that we have.
And, oh, a nice catch by the Stummel. Second base to end the inning. 3 up, 3 down. We head to the bottom of the second here in Bonn. 2-0. Caps losing to the Wild Farmers so far. We'll be right back on Caps TV. And welcome back to Bonn. Score is 2-0 for the Wild Farmers over the Caps. And we've got an alliterative triple play coming up with Lamb, Lee, and Langhorst at the plate in this inning. Lamb Hunt, to say it fully, but it doesn't work alliteratively if I say Lamb Hunt. Lamb, Lee, and Langhorst. In any case, Lamb Hunt, as always, playing first base today, batting .422 on the season. Yeah, he had a home run yesterday.
I mean, which was important, as I said yesterday. It's a battle between Terrell Joyce and Daniel Lampunt.
Nice to have a little friendly competition.
Huh?
Yeah, usually if the catcher drops the ball, he doesn't get that strike call. But so, Angela, if my Canadian math is correct, that's 8 home runs each then on the season.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Canadians count differently.
Well, this Canadian counts poorly. That's the problem. And that ball comes in for a ball. 1-2 count. And a hit right through the middle for Lamb Hunt. And he's on to start things off here in the bottom of the second inning. From one L to another, here's Wilson Lee. Lee playing left field, batting .370. So Bonn needs some hits. They're a hot-hitting team all year. They're needing that now, down 2-0 early on in this game. And this is the part of the order to do it. Not quite as much dancing by Lamb Hunt at first base as Vidig, who we saw last inning at second. Shergill still on the mound. Throw a strike. Once again. Sort of at that 3/4 mark with the delivery on that one. He almost does a full quarter clock. Right over the top at 12. And then I guess that would be 10 o'clock on the other side as a right-handed hitter, a thrower. And then he goes full sidearm on some of these. Thrower to first, and Lamb Hunt was back, no problem. You have to wonder if Bonn's going to be aggressive here. And a single out to second base would have helped as he throws on to second, on to first. Gets the double play. So, 4-6-3 double play to retire both Lee and Lamb Hunt heading down to second.
Yeah, that's not good offense today.
Not quite yet, no. Lankhorst comes to bat. He's the right fielder today and seen a little action, a couple fly balls in the last inning. First 2 outs were to him. 226 hitter. And fouls went off. By this point yesterday, in the second inning, we were already at 14, but that's baseball. Every day is a new day. You could win 21-5, as yesterday's score indicates, but it is simply a win. You don't get any more points just because you have a huge score. A win is a win, and every day a new one, as I just said. And that's the way the Wild Farmers are going into this game, knowing that they have to win this one certainly, if they're to stay alive, and then the next one. And Bonn Capitals, of course, if they're going to put a stop to that, need to do some hitting. Sidearm, low. Interesting, that sidearm delivery went to the far side of the plate, at least for Lankhorst. The other sidearm deliveries have come inside to those right-handed batters. And called strike on that pitch. 2-2. Have to see if he goes sidearm. Nope. And that comes in low. One would assume, that the overhead is the fastball. Although there is not a lot of velocity on the pitch. And that's outside, and he loses Lankhorst to a walk. So the number 7 hitter, Lankhorst, gets on. Now bring up Michelli. Michelli batting .321. Runner at first base is Lankhorst. Shergill looks at the batter. Sidearm delivery is a strike. I can't see a lot of movement on those pitches that he throws to the side. Fans into it. Runner on first is Lankhorst. 2 down, 2-0 Wild Farmers. Bottom of the second. And the runner's going. Lankhorst down to second to throw. Not a chance as the throw goes to the other side of the runner. And Lankhorst into second with a stolen base on 2 outs.
Was that called a strike? I don't know.
No question, I was looking at the runner. Some discussion of that down there. 0-2 remains the count, at least from the scoreboard perspective. Lankhorst taking a pretty good lead out there at second. No coverage. And steps off the rubber, but no throw down to second. It's interesting, the shortstop, nor the second baseman, even made a motion to get back and to cover him in any way. That pitch is ball. 1-2. That's a tough one to take, I'm sure. The umpire has a slight hesitation on that. Lilivo, the umpire behind home plate. The pitch outside, almost the same location. Almost. So Michelli fights back in the count to even things. Lankhorst at second. 2 out. Fans clapping for a run. That one's outside as well. So fights back to get a full count. Nice at bat by Michelli. Good eye. Once that runner got to second, we saw 3 balls. And the delivery, runner's going, throw down to third base. The tag, he's safe. So that's the second stolen base of the inning by Danny Lankhorst. Risky play.
A walk for Michelli, so.
Walk for Michelli, but if you're going to steal third base, especially on that, with 2 out, you better make sure you're going to get there. But he did.
And you better be fast.
You better be fast. So Michelli's on first, runners on the corner, Lankhorst on third. 2 walks got them on base. Eddie Stummel, your number 9 hitter, batting .273 on the season. Your second baseman. All this happened now with 2 outs. That's what walks will get you in a game. And a hit, a slight hit down to second, easy play on to first, and that'll end the inning. So that's snuffed out quickly. 2-0 remains the score. We'll be right back on Caps TV.
Ich glaube, wir müssen von Spiel zu Spiel schauen.
Ich glaube, wir werden uns von Spiel zu Spiel steigern.
Nächstes Spiel angreifen.
Wir haben noch ein Riesenspiel, jetzt erstmal wieder am Freitag vor der Brust.
Es ist am Samstag ein schweres Spiel. Und Sonntag geht's weiter.
Es ist nur ein Spiel. Was danach kommt, das wird man sehen.
Egal, was danach kommt, wir zeigen es live. Mit allen Spielen der 3. Liga, der Penny DEL und der Easy Credit BBL. Nur bei Magenta Sport.
Ja, ich glaube, wir müssen
Ist Mia. Mia hat zu Hause einen richtig schönen Designboden, der aber auch leider oberflächige Schäden und tiefe Kratzer aufweist. Dr. Schütz hat dafür die Lösung mit Produkten für die Reinigung und Pflege, wie das Designboden-Pflegeset und um tiefe Kratzer zu beseitigen, das Scratch Fix Repair Set. Und damit Mia genau weiß, wie man ihre Böden zu Hause perfekt pflegt und schützt, gibt es unsere Tutorials auf dem Dr. Schütz YouTube-Channel. Für Mia und euch alle. Damit muss sich Mia nicht mehr um ihre Böden sorgen, sondern kann ganz beruhigt unsere Caps anfeuern. Go Caps!
And welcome back to Bonn. Scores 2-0 in favor of the Wild Farmers. We head to the top of the 3rd inning. A couple games also expected today around the league. Paderborn and Hamburg will start play at 1 o'clock as we see Enriquez come to the plate in this game. Heidenheim and Regensburg will play at 2 o'clock. As that pitch comes in for a strike. And if necessary, of course, we have a 3rd game today between Bonn and Dortmund and Paderborn and Hamburg, but we'll see how that all comes out. Foul back our way, almost into the softball game that's going on in the diamond beside us. So the count is 0-2 on Enriquez, who singled in his first at-bat, 255 batter on the season. Jensen still in the hill for Bonn. And a foul. Yesterday, if you didn't get the scores of those games, just to talk about the evening games, Hamburg lost to Paderborn 9-2, and Regensburg beat Heidenheim 10-9. Perhaps a surprise to some. Which proves, of course, Heidenheim can be beat. And if Bonn is fortunate enough to continue going in these playoffs, that is typically who they've faced in the past. So it's an interesting team to keep an eye on. As we see another foul off, 1 and 2 is the count. Now we see that ball boy. Perhaps you can or cannot see him on the screen. We're trying to find out who that is, because he sure has a good time at these games. And a hit just into foul territory and grab by Joe Vittig at third base. Heading into foul territory, nice snag there. Throws on to the rest of his teammates. Back to Jensen, and we're ready for another batter. And that's Del Muro with 1 down. Del Muro singled also in his first at-bat and came around to score. The second of 2 runs scored by the Wild Farmers thus far. Big swing. Now, the Wild Farmers do seem to be on Jensen's pitches. Not hugely successful, but it doesn't look like they're being fooled by much. Swing and a miss there, just to prove me wrong. And a hit into center field. That comes in for at least a single. As Joyce snags the ball, throws it back to the second baseman, Stummel. So that's Del Muro's second hit of the game. He's 2 for 2. That'll bring up Matusavicius. He struck out in his first at-bat today. He's batting .295 on the season. EM, as I like to call him, because it's a little simpler. And that's a strike.
As long as you don't call him ET, everything's fine.
That's right. We don't want to call him ET. And I don't want him neither phoning home nor coming home to the plate. Swing and a miss. That's 0-2 now. MK, your cleanup batter, is on deck with 1 out here in the top of the third. And a definitely much tighter game than we had yesterday. That comes inside. Almost hits Matusavicius. The runner goes down to second base. That's Del Muro. Just flipped up over Aaron's glove. He leaned over. He could have smelled that ball. Look back at second. Pitch. Also a bit in the dirt. Two is the count. And he strikes him out. A bit of a delayed call by the umpire there. But Matusavicius goes down and MK comes up. That's your 1, 2. That's 2 strikeouts now for Jensen in the game today. Del Muro remains on second base. MK, left-handed batter. Big hitter on the season, .395. This is average. Delivery by Jansen. Looks like he's putting a little more heat on these pitches. That comes in for a strike. 0-1. Lots of Bonn swag in the house today, the hats, the shirts, and you can get all that at the park if you come out for the game, which we encourage you to do. I have a little stand set up down beside the food, which is also delicious. I wish they'd move that barbecue over a little bit, though, because it's right beneath us, and I can smell it. It makes me hungry every time. The delivery. And a pop-up into shallow left field. Left fielder coming over, and it falls fair. So the runner comes home to score. That's Del Muro. And a blooper into left field. Just wasn't able to get to that ball, was Lee. And like that, it's 3-0 for the Wild Farmers. Del Muro is lucky they didn't catch that ball because he was almost at home by the time it landed. So MK at first base, adding to his already strong average. Sebastian Yap at the plate, 323 hitter. He's your DH. Swing and a miss, throw down to first base. And over Lamb Hunt's glove, the runner races down to second base. The throw, no throw. Stummel thought about it, but he was already there almost. A little bit of a sloppy play. Nevertheless, MK is at second. Swing and a miss. And he strikes out, and you can see, as Yap looks to the sky, that he wasn't happy with his swing on that. Anyway, another run comes around to score. It's 3-0 Wild Farmers as we head to the bottom of the third. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Caps TV.
I will push the Capitals a bit now.
Go ahead.
So, come on, guys. It's about time to do something.
That's right. Listen to Angela, team. At bat is number 30, Eric Brink, top of the order. He grounded out to third in his first at bat. He'll be followed by Joe Vidig and Vinny Aarons, the cynic. And if they get a little bit farther on, Terrell Joyce. Need some runs. They're to win this game and close out the series. Regular season of the Bundesliga, the Capitals had 161 hits in 14 games, including 31 home runs, and they scored 160 points.
Yes, they have one hit today, or
That's right.
so far.
So they need to find that hitting power again.
They had 17 hits yesterday, so maybe they can build on that.
Indeed.
Okay, little inside, but called a strike.
3-1 the count. 3-0, bottom of the third inning. Schergill delivers. Big hit into left field, and then goes back. If it stays fair,
That's
it's
gone.
good. It's gone.
Home run by
Home
Eric
run.
Rank.
Eric Brank rounds second, and the crowd gives him
So
a
at
big
least
hand.
Eric listens to me, so
Well, that's right. Eric does not want the wrath of Angela, and he touches home, and it's 3-1. Solo home run for Eric Brank. That one had to stay fair. Maybe the slight wind kept it in, one never knows. But regardless, it was over the fence, 1-0. Bonn is on the board, and the fans are a little more enthusiastic. And that brings to the plate Joe Vidig.
who had the first hit in this game, the first and only since Eric Brank came.
Indeed, he had a double. And that's a strike. He was the dancer, you'll recall, out on second base, trying to distract the pitcher.
Actually, this is what his teammates say. He has a very, very good eye, Joe Wittig. I mean, he can really have good adjustments to the pitcher.
Schergill looks in, delivers over the top this time, and that's a ball. 2-1 count. Well, yeah, you certainly see that, Angela. With the counts that he's getting, they're really working the count, and they'd be all well served to do that. He's obviously a good pitcher. The more you can tire him out, the better luck you may have. That comes in for a ball. Ball 3-1. Sidearm delivery is low, and Vidig finds himself on first base. You had a feeling that sidearm delivery was coming on that final pitch. The manager goes out to check in on Schergill, his pitcher. Had a pretty solid first 2 innings. Gave up the double, and really, a couple walks aside, he's been pitching well.
Definitely much better than he pitched in the first game against Bonn.
Indeed.
But that, as we said before, this was the beginning of their season, so nobody was really into it at that time.
That's right, and the coach knows. Obviously, he wants to protect this lead, and you don't want to give up any more walks. That's for sure.
I mean, he will leave him on the mound because he does not have many options. He has Matuzevicius as a pitcher, or because Daniel Thieben yesterday pitched more than half of the game.
Yeah,
so
one would think he's not available. But right now, Vinny Aarons is at the plate with Joe Vidig on first with that walk. I'm sure that visit was a calm down visit. Please calm down and don't put anybody else on. It's his third walk today. A lot of I mentioned before, I think, that their runners are able to steal on Schergill. Yeah, 12 stolen bases against him, and that's a lot more than the rest of the team for sure, but higher up in the league as well. Vidig doing his dance at first. Foul straight back. 1-1. Bat Boy saving the Capitals' legs. Terrell Joyce went to get that foul ball, and Bat Boy outraced him. Fittig at first. Delivery down to second base. Throw on to second. One. No, the second baseman drops the ball. All hands safe.
That was a little bit of luck for the Capitals.
Indeed.
It was supposed to be a double play, so now everybody's safe.
Yeah, definitely, I would say, E6 on Geraldo at second. I'll bring Terrell Joyce to the plate. I'm sure this is not what the manager was wanting to see when he went out for that visit. But we've got Joe Vittig dancing already at second base before Terrell Joyce even gets in the box. And we'll see how Shergill responds to him. Shergill walking out, making sure that his infielders are positioned. Talking about who's covering the base.
I was just looking at Daniel Lampant in the
Batter's box.
batter's box. He was dancing with the music a little bit, so
What a-
obviously Joe Vittig is just contagious.
What a team. They can hit and they can dance. All right. Vittig at second, Aaron's at first. Terrell Joyce at the plate. Nobody out. 3-1 is the score. That ball's outside. Not much coverage of Vittig at second. They want to keep that double play on too, I'm sure. They don't want to be too far out of position. Shergill looks back at Vittig. Pitch on the way. Outside, throw down to first. No play really at first. He was back plenty of time. Bonn can smell they have something going on in this inning. Hungry for some wild farmer. Shergill delivers, sidearm. Hit between third and short. And Vittig comes around third base to throw home. He scores. Throw down to second. Safe at second base is Terrell Joyce with an RBI double. And the Bonn Capitals are now behind only by one, 3-2, nobody out. So that's what happens when you try and Joe Vittig dancing around at second base. The shortstop is over there trying to somewhat cover him, and Terrell Joyce hits in the hole where the shortstop was originally playing.
And there's one other reason why that happens. They listen to me.
Because they listen to you, that's right. And so they have a little powwow on the mound to try and keep this in order. The umpire comes over and is shaking his finger at somebody.
Because it was it was not a mound visit.
Right.
So the players are talking to him. Yeah?
Right, exactly. So Terrell Joyce is at second, with Wittig coming around to score. That puts Aarons on third base, and Lamb Hunt at the plate. He had a single in his first at bat, but got thrown out in the double play that Lee hit into.
Intentional walk here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is really a good idea because with Wilson Lee following.
I don't understand this move at all. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, in his first at bat, I think Wilson Lee hit into this double play.
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, you're not going to
But
catch.
it's no out, so double play does not help.
And Lee does not hit into a lot of double plays, is the other thing. So, hey, look, sacks are full. That's the bottom line. Wilson Lee's up with the sacks full. Moment of truth for Shergill on the mound. Pitch comes in, big swing and a miss by Lee. Strike one. Sacks are full of caps. Aaron's at third, Joyce at second, Lamb Hunt at first base. Lee at the plate. 370 average on the year. Delivery. Swing and a foul. It's missing coach down at third base. He had to do a bit of a dance of his own. Get out of the way of that. Bonn with a chance to not only come back in this game, but to break things open a bit. big opportunity with nobody out and the bases loaded. We'll see if the intentional walk pays off for the Wild Farmers. That's in the dirt. 1-2. Wilson Lee can't, well, maybe he's smiling about it, the fact that they pitched to get to the MVP from last year. And a hit down the foul line on third is
And
foul.
kind of the MVP of the Champions Cup.
Indeed.
Because Wilson Lee was not only pitching pretty well, but he was hitting pretty well, so at the Champions Cup.
It's a big risk. We'll see what happens if it pays off for the Wild Farmers or for the Capitals. 1-2 is the count, nobody out. 3-2 is the score, bottom of the third. Shergill on the mound. Lee at the plate. Sidearm delivery. Check swing. Appeal down. No swing, says the umpire at first base. Count is 2-2. Shergill's going to have to come to him now. The umpire having a little chat with the manager of the Wild Farmers, who I would assume is voicing his displeasure over that call, and the first base umpire gives a little motion back to first. Oh, it's back to the dugout, as if to say perhaps you should return to your dugout and quiet thy tongue. 2-2 count. Delivery. Outside, full count. And now everybody will be going. Pitcher's got to come to him, or else he's walking somebody home. Shergill looks in, delivers, and he walks him. He intentionally walked Lamb Hunt in, unintentionally walked Lee to first base, and in comes a run to tie this game. Aarons is the one who comes across the plate. Joyce moves up to third. Lamb Hunt is on second, and Lee is on first. Bases remain loaded with nobody out for Danny Langhorst, who drew a walk in his last at-bat. So 3 runs already by Bonn in this inning. Nobody out still.
A walk this time.
Walking.
So
No, last at-bat he got a walk.
yeah, I know, but a walk this time gets another run.
Oh, indeed, yes. Yeah. 0-1 is the count. And I can't help but thinking, that Joe Vittig, if you look back at second base in the position of the shortstop and we saw that single go through, I really think that was a key play in this inning to get things rolling. Aggressive base running always helps. Swing and a miss by Langhorst. That's strike 2.
No, strike 1. Oh, strike 2. Did he call it a strike, the first one?
Indeed, yeah. Crowd hungry for more. Shergill sets, not even looking at the runners anymore. High pop-up back our way. Catcher goes back, and we can't see. Did he catch it or not? Nope. I'm guessing no. Nobody's doing anything. So it's just out of our sight lines here.
Scoreboard doesn't work.
So Shergill walks back to the mound, wondering how he's going to get out of this one. The intentional walk to Lamb Hunt to get to Lee didn't work out, as he ended up walking Lee and walking a run home. That was Vinny Aarons from third. Right now we've got Terrell Joyce on third. Daniel Lamb Hunt is now at second, and Wilson Lee's at first. Langhorst at the plate with an 0-2 count. Sidearm, outside, 1-2. That sidearm's not necessarily working for Shergill. He hasn't thrown that for a strike in a couple of attempts, at least in the last 2 innings. Big opportunity remaining here for Bonn with the bases loaded, nobody out. Bottom third of the order up. Be nice to see that part of the order produce here. Swing and a miss, not going to be Langhorst at this at-bat as he strikes out. Michelli will come up now. He walked in his last at-bat. So one down. Schergel can get out of this with a double play. Michelli is, of course, not looking to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Michelli does hit quite good this season, but not very often. He's not always in the game, so he was the DH yesterday and he's the DH today, but...
Not a lot of production yesterday, but that one's hit high into shallow left field. Third baseman comes over into foul territory and makes the catch. No tag on that play, so there's 2 out. And of course, Bonn would like to get more than 3 runs this inning, especially with the bases loaded now for 2 batters. That'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Eddie Stummel.
Okay, at least they went through their lineup this inning, so...
Eddie Stummel, number 42, second baseman, perennial second baseman for the Bonn Capitals, hitting .273 on the season. Stummel, always a crowd favorite here. Would love to give them something to cheer about with the bases loaded with 2 out in a 3-3 tie here. The 3rd inning. And that comes in for a ball. Bases loaded. Joyce, Lamb Hunt, and Lee. 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, respectively. Sidearm delivery. That one comes in for a strike. One is the count. Sidearm again. And again a strike.
Good pitch for a hit.
Yeah, 1 and 2. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to that pitch. Stummel looked not interested in swinging at either one of those. And again, sidearm, but that time outside, 2 and 2. Big pitch here for Schergel. You don't want a full count, have to come to the batter and risk walking in another run. Stummel takes that bat off his shoulder, swings and misses and strands 3 runners as Schergel gets out of it somewhat. Leaves the bases loaded, but 3 runs score here in this inning. We go to the top of the 4th inning. Tie game, 3-3 here in Bonn. We'll be right back on Caps TV. The dulcet tones of AC/DC's Brian Johnson welcomes us back to the top of the 4th inning. 3-3 tie here between the Wild Farmers and the Bonn Capitals. Marcus Jensen on the hill. He's thrown 53 pitches today in this tie game. Now, if we look to Schergel, He pitched 75. So that comes in for a strike. So we get to the bullpen on Sugarl, who's doing quite well. That's a different game that we're talking about. Bonn has a pretty strong bullpen. Wild Farmers, a bit of a different story. Of course, anything can happen. This is baseball. O2 count now to the batter, Wester Bocio Cabral. Bocio Cabral. Oh, and 2 remains the count. One has to think that was a big missed opportunity for Bonn, despite them getting 3 runs in. I mean, that was always, that's very helpful. But to leave the bases loaded, that's pretty tough. Big fly ball into right field, but Langhorst is there and grabs it, and that's 1 down. That'll bring up Alejandro Giraldo, shortstop. He also flew out to Langhorst in his last at-bat. .267 hitter, slight frame, not tall. Not necessarily means it doesn't mean a whole lot, but slight in stature compared to some of his other teammates. That ball is outside. One and one. Maybe we can go over some of Bonn's scores from earlier this year. Not to spend too much time on that, but they beat the Wanderers 18-3 and 9-0 that first week. Pitch hit down to shortstop, grabs it. Brank throws it first, but Lamb isn't able to hold on to it. And Giraldo is at first base. It bounced into first. That's a tough play for the first baseman. But Giraldo is a fast runner, so Brank had to unload that in a hurry. That'll bring up Bujala. He flew out to Langhorst in last inning as well. So that first series of the year, Bonn beat Dortmund. They beat Solingen. Then they beat the Wild Farmers here by a score of 16-1 and 12-10. So that pitch is outside. Followed that up by an 8-3 and 11-10 win against the Untouchables of Paderborn. They beat the Hamburg Steelers 9-2 and 4-3. The Flamingos 11-6 and 14-2. That pitch is low, and 1-1 is the count. And they finished the regular part of the season with wins against Cologne, beating them 16-2 and 11-0. Here the score is 3-3. And that pitch comes in for a strike. Giraldo getting a pretty good-sized lead at first base. Jansen, a right-handed pitcher. Not really paying too much attention to Giraldo at first. 2-2 is the count on Bujala at the plate. And a hit down to third, on to the shorts, on to second, then on to first, but too late at first. Had to go around the horn there and didn't quite make it to first in time to beat the speedy Bujala. So 2 out, runner at first is Bujala and Henigera at the plate. He popped out to the second baseman, Eddie Stummel, in the second inning for his first at bat. Jansen hoping to keep the pitch count down. He was at 53 entering this inning. 2 out here in the fourth. inside. 1-1. I count 3 strikeouts for Jansen today. Nice to see the fans back at the park. Fans able to get tickets at the gate these days, which is nice. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and that ends the inning. We head to the bottom of the 4th with a 3-3 tie. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn, 3-3 tie, and we open this inning with a discussion between the catcher and the umpire. I think this was a bit of a hangover from last inning.
Paluk is not in the lineup.
Indeed, so
Not on the lineup.
you're right. So we have no Przemysław Pauluk as the catcher today. One has to wonder if he's injured or something else is up. But the catcher for the Wild Farmers, Del Muro, he and the umpire had a bit of a discussion as we were going into the inning. In any case, we start this inning with Eric Brank, who hit a home run in his last at-bat just over the left field fence. And discussion continues between what's happening with Shergill.
Now, obviously, he is having some problems.
Yeah,
right?
there's an issue now with Shergill. Looks like he's coming over to talk to his coach. And he's out of the game.
Yeah, something is wrong with him.
Something's up, and he is heading back to his dugout. And the coach talking to the umpire now about what's going on. Look, we're going to try and get things sorted out. We'll find out who the new pitcher is.
Are you sure? No. Another one came out.
Yeah, we're looking at who this number.
No, let's wait.
Yeah,
because several players come out of the bullpen, so.
Okay, we're going to come back to you once we get things sorted out here on Caps TV. 3-3 is the score. Welcome back to Bonn, where we've had a change of pitchers, sort of a last-minute change for the Wild Farmers, replacing Shergill, who went off. Looked a little rough going off. It might have been the heat or something like that. He's replaced with Janis Wiedemeyer, who's got an 0-1 record, 12 innings pitched, 14 earned runs against, 16 strikeouts, and a 9.95 ERA. So he is coming into a tie game 3-3 and a very crucial point of the game because top of the order's coming up with Eric Brink, and he hit a whopper in his last at-bat over the left field fence. And that pitch comes in for a ball. I noticed on that last pitch that Shergill threw in the warm-up, the one they throw down to second base to wrap things up, it was sort of a half-hearted attempt, and I thought he was just sort of fooling around, but I think he was feeling something on the mound.
He looked dizzy. Some kind of.
Not well, that's for sure. So, he had, 75 pitches, I think Max mentioned to me. And another one to left field.
Another home run.
And there it goes. Eric Brink
right
back
the same spot.
Back-to-back home runs in this game. Number 30 takes a second trip around the sun. And just like that, welcomes Wiedemeyer into the game with a home run. 4-3 Bonn. The crowd giving Brink a well-deserved round of applause.
Yeah, I mean, Brink, this season, I think he had already like 3 or 4 home runs, and normally he's not the home run hitter, but this season it looked like he just wants that,
He's having a weekend, and I know I've repeated this a few times. So 2 home runs today.
Last time he had a home run, he hit back-to-back as well.
Yeah, Max is mentioning to me here, last time he hit a home run, he did a back-to-back as well. 2 home runs today, 2 doubles yesterday, 1 single, 2 walks. I think we have a strong contender.
MVP already, you mean?
Yeah, we have a strong contender for the MVP. Wiedemeyer delivers now to Joe Fittig. 1-0. Boy, though, that was a nice hit out. There was a no-doubter, really, into left field. The only doubt, as Fittig sees a strike and obviously has a little disagreement about that placement. The only doubt about it was whether it stays fair or foul, but it wasn't twisting anywhere but into the trees in fair territory. Bounces it in. 2-1 is the count. Eric Brink coming into his stride, just when it matters most. In the playoffs. 4-3 the score. Bonn is pulled ahead now with that home run. 2-1 delivery by Wiedemeyer. And a strike, 2-2. See Paderborn and Hamburg just getting underway now. Bottom of the first inning there.
I mean, the most interesting other game today is the semifinals. It's the semifinals of Regensburg and Heidenheim, because yesterday Regensburg has beaten Heidenheim in Heidenheim
by a run.
By 1 run, and in the first game, because actually the chances that they win the second game with their pitcher Bowman is much higher. So they have a big chance to have a 2-0 lead after today. So
interesting happenings in Heidenheim.
Some stress for Heidenheim here.
Indeed. So with that strikeout, that brings Ahrens to the plate. 1 out here. Ahrens had a single in his last at-bat. Grounded out to the first baseman before that in the first inning. And hits it down to the second base and scoops it up. Enriquez throws on to first, and 2 down now in the inning, bringing up Terrell Joyce. Quick 2 downs after that home run by Brink. Terrell Joyce has a single today. He does have a single, but is also struck out in the first inning.
Terrell was telling me this week then when they had Champions Cup in Czech Republic last week, And before that, he was playing in the Czech Republic. And during that tournament, they even played his walk-on song.
Oh, did they? They still had that on file?
Yeah, remembering that he was playing there. So
Yeah, he's a good guy to talk to and loves the game. Delivery by Wiedemeyer down to third base, fair, just inside the line and past the third baseman. Terrell Joyce rounds first, heads into second base. Should get there safely and easily. A double by Terrell Joyce. Third baseman, just under the third baseman's glove, that hit was. It goes right into the corner. Sweet spot for a hitter to hit.
So it's time for Daniel.
Daniel Lamb Hunt at bat, yeah. Let's see if he comes to him here. 3-1 count. No. He grounds it in, and it bounces ahead of the catcher, but Lamb Hunt takes third. Terrell Joyce takes third base on that play. Heads up play as he sees that ball go into the dirt. Catcher couldn't find it, Del Muro. So that means Daniel Lamb Hunt has 2 walks today, 1 intentional, 1 not, and a single. And that'll bring to the plate Wilson Lee, who also got walked in his last at-bat, very unintentionally. As we said before, bringing in a run, forcing in a run. 370 average for Lee. Big player in the Champions Cup. Big player last year as well. Very solid this year as usual. Pitches outside. Runners on the corner. Terrell Joyce. Daniel Lamb Hunt's at first. Pitches the ball. 2-0. You can tell they're pitching very carefully around this very talented heart of the order for Bonn. I think they're hoping to take their chances with Lankhorst, Michelli, and Stummel, who have not hit as strongly this weekend. Big swing, cut in its heading foul. Will it make it into the stands? It does. A loud strike. 2-1. 4-3 the score. Caps leading the Wild Farmers. This is the second game of the quarterfinals. Bonn won the first one 21-5 yesterday. If they win here, they can end the series. If they are unable to win this game, we'll see another game, probably around, 4 o'clock, Angela?
Yeah, maybe.
Shortly
maybe a
after
little
this.
earlier.
Yeah. It's hot. The fans want to probably, I'm sure they enjoy seeing another game, but they prefer not to. I think they'd like to see Bonn finish this as soon as they can. Wind now blowing out right center. Pitch is low and he loses Lee. Bases are loaded once again for Daniel Lankhorst. Now, the last inning he also came up with the bases loaded with 2 out. No, there wasn't 2 out at that point. Sorry. He came up and he did strike out with the bases loaded. So let's see if he can rectify that situation here.
So he does it better now. Let's see.
Yeah. Lankhorst takes the ball outside. Wiedemeyer, the pitcher now. It's a different pitcher, different situation. Last time, Schergill was on the mound when Lankhorst faced him. Lankhorst, 226 hitter. Joyce at third. Lamb Hunt at second. Lee at first. Pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. 1-1. Another big moment for Bonn. You don't want to be setting aside too many of these opportunities with the sacks full.
That's true. They should.
It's bad karma. Foul back. He was on that.
My favorite word. They should capitalize.
Ah, yes. They should capitalize. Absolutely. And I thought I was the only wordsmith in this office today. And a chopper into center field for a single. Joyce scores. Lamb Hunt comes around. He scores with an RBI single with Lankhorst coming through for the Bonn Capitals. That's what you want to see, Angela.
Yeah. I said he will do better this time.
Yes, you did.
He did.
Joyce in, Lamb Hunt in.
You know, in this club, nobody is listening to me, but occasionally the players do. From up here. Only when I'm telling from up here.
I have a feeling they are listening because, they're coming through. So Lankhorst with it's 2 RBIs on that plate. Michelli now at the plate. He grounded out and walked in his first at-bat. Wilson Lee on second base. Lankhorst at first. 6-3 now the score for Bonn. And indeed they did capitalize, Angela. Wiedemeyer delivers. I'm sure Bonn would love to get a few more. 2-0 the count. Those walks will get you every time. Strike called. Angela, you told us we now know the name of the ball boy.
Yeah, the bad boy is
Bad boy.
Felix. And he's playing it in our youngest team here and at the Capitals.
Yeah, and he's got some speed.
And he's got some speed, and he's very proud to be a bad boy here. So
I saw him cleaning up after the game last night, helping Vinny Aarons tamp down the batter's box, and he was having the time of his life. Michelli at the plate. 3-1 is the count. Fouled back, reaches over for that one. Full count now, 2 out. 6-3, the score, bottom of the 4th.
there's Felix.
There he is. What a great opportunity for a young player to sit with his probably idols at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
And the runner goes. Both runners going on that 3-2 count. Fouled back. Michelli hitting .321 on the season. He's the DH. And Michelli steps back in. Wiedemeyer looks in. Full count, delivery with 2 out. Runners going, broken bat to shortstop. Shortstop scoops it up, throws on to first, and they retire the side. However, Bonn, because of Danny Lankhorst, key hit, now lead 6-3. We'll be right back here in Bonn on Caps TV.
Das Spiel schauen.
Ich glaube, wir werden uns von Spiel zu Spiel steigern.
Nächstes Spiel angreifen. Wir haben noch ein Riesenspiel, jetzt erstmal wieder am Freitag vor der Brust.
Es ist am Samstag ein schweres Spiel.
Und Sonntag geht's weiter.
Es ist nur ein Spiel. Was danach kommt, das wird man sehen.
Egal, was danach kommt, wir zeigen es live. Mit allen Spielen der 3. Liga, der Penny DEL und der Easy Credit BBL.
Welcome back to Bonn. 6-3 is the score now as Bonn, Danny Langhorst got a 2 RBI single in the last at bat with the bases loaded. And we find ourselves now in the top of the 5th. Enriquez at bat for the Wild Farmers. Marcus Jansen still in the hit, and Enriquez hits one out to right field, but Langhorst is there. Langhorst taking care of a lot of the defensive part of the game. This game for Bonn. Now, back to Jansen. He has 70 pitches today. That'd be 71 now that he threw that one. 50 of them he's thrown for strikes. He's given up 3 runs, but only 1 of them earned. So that's an interesting little stat there. And he's not walked anybody. And that's a strike. Thanks to my crack research team, who is called Max, for that for getting those stats.
You can also call him Paul.
Max Paulus.
Paulus.
I'm working on everybody's names here. And that ball is a ball. 1 and 2 is the count. 1 out. Danny Langhorst, how many balls is he? How many times do I have 9 circled on here? At least 4. Yep. Key hit, key catches. Del Muro has singled twice and come around twice to score for the Wild Farmers, and had a little discussion with the umpire. Fully invested in the game. Jansen delivers. Swing and a miss. And he strikes him out. That's 2 down now in the inning. Matu Savicius comes up to the plate. He struck out twice in his previous 2 at-bats. I count 5 strikeouts now for Jansen. And that ball's low. Jansen's pitch count is not huge, but it's getting up there. But he's had his last inning, he didn't throw a lot. In this inning, if he can get out of this one, just facing the minimum 3 batters, you might see him for at least another inning. Maybe 2. And a foul down the first base side. Lamb Hunt hustling over to get that. Like to see that. Make sure you finish that play until you hear the call, foul or fair. That's what I was always taught anyway, because if you weren't hustling, you were doing push-ups when I played.
Good.
Well, it really helps
So
if
how
you can
often-
do a push-up.
How often have you done that?
It was the attempted push-ups, I think we'd call that, Angela. And I was in my early teens. Getting to 1 was a challenge.
Uh-huh.
And so then you had to run some laps, which I could do.
That's a walk.
Yeah, so there we go. Runner on, and that is Matutsevicius. And Mike MK comes to the plate. That's the first walk, if I have that correct, for Jansen that he gave up today. MK, first base today, singled and advanced on a pass ball through the first baseman, Lamb Hunt, in the last time he was at the plate. That pitch comes in low. Madu Savicius at first base for the Wild Farmers, and a high pop-up into shallow center field. The fielders converge, and it's the shortstop, Brank, who takes that to retire the side. And we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. The score is 6-3 in favor of the Bonn Capitals over the Wild Farmers. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. The score is 6-3 for the Capitals. Eddie Stummel is at the plate. He struck out with the bases loaded in his at-bat last time. Wiedemeyer is still on the mound for the Wild Farmers. And that pitch comes in high. Now, speaking of that strikeout, the bottom three hitters of the Bonn order, they've basically been hitless for the game, except for that hit by Langhorst that had 2 RBIs attached to it. The first 5 batters, however, each have 1 run, and Brenk has 2. So the bottom half of the order, I mean, and this is sort of somewhat typical of if you look at, especially at the major leagues as well, there's a reason some of these hitters hit at the bottom of the order, because they don't hit as well as the top of the order. However, you still need production throughout. And it's always good to see Langhorst get that key hit with the bases loaded last inning. Here, the count is 2-1 to Stummel.
Yeah, and in general, I mean, Langhorst has quite some hits this season, and sometimes we don't have Michelli in there. We have, for example, Anthony Rodriguez in there, and he hits pretty good.
Yeah.
He's one of our youngsters, so let's see who Max Schmitz will bring into the game later.
Yeah. Eddie Stummel takes a trip down to first base. Perhaps not enjoying that little discussion about the bottom third of the order. And to be fair, we look at somebody like Daniel Michelli, who's got a .321 average, and Langhorst, no slouch himself, with .226, and Stummel's .273. So, look, I mean, it's not as if these guys are never hitting. Just talking about this game today and yesterday to some extent as well. Top of the order, your favorite and mine for today's game, Eric Brenk. Wow, 2 home runs in a row. Can he make it 3? I mean, I haven't seen that in a long time. Runner on is Eddie Stummel. Both home runs. Beautiful gems sailing over that left field fence. That smooth swing of his. And that comes into the outside, or inside corner, sorry. 2-0. Brenk looking down to his coach at third base. The coach is like, just do what you did for the last 2 at-bats. Whatever you did there worked really well. Stummel in a fighting position down at first with his lead off. And another hit into left field. This one falls in just ahead of the fielder. And Brenk has a single. He's at first, Stummel's at second. Bonn has something going here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Boy, he has a nice smooth swing, Angela.
Yeah, he's in a pretty good mood, right?
I would be too if I had a series like he's having so far.
I mean, yesterday he told me after the game, oh, nothing special, you know.
No, nothing special. Tomorrow, I'll do even better, which he's doing.
And here's our dancer.
That's right, Joe Fittig.
Let's dance. Give them something to dance, right?
That's right. Stummel wants to dance on home, as does Brenk, I'm sure. Brenk is at first base thinking, oh, I've got to run around the entire diamond now this time. I don't get to do it in one shot. Life is hard.
Life is very hard.
Fittig crouching in there, waving that bat around. Always some movement with him. Big hit into right field. Will it go?
Gone, right?
Will it go? It's going. It's gone.
So Fittig, I think it's his first home run here in Bonn.
3-run home run from Joe Fittig. In comes Stummel. He touches home and he scores. He's followed by Brenk. He scores. And there's Fittig dancing on home, touching, and he scores. Breaking the game open now, 9-3 Bonn.
As far as I can see, this is the first home run of Fittig here for the Bonn Capitals. So
very nicely done.
Pardon me?
When Schmitz called it last series that he wanted to hit one and he couldn't point up to us. Because he called it for last time, but then he did hit one. But
he was going to do a wave to us.
Max Schmitz was going to.
But,
Oh.
but he didn't now.
But yes, we were talking about Max, the coach possibly giving us a wave if he hit the ball. I hit the home run. Waiting for that wave still.
Yeah, actually, Aaron's promised. I mean, we have a bet here going on.
Where am I when all these promises are happening? I want some promises. Well,
So come on, Vinny.
your turn, sir. He smiles at the umpire as he takes a strike call on that. Terrell Joyce having a little smile in the box as well in the on-deck circle. Nobody out still, 9-3 Bonn. Fans happy to see that. Boy, that was nice. That hung up in the air for a while. So Stummel walked, Brent got a single, and Vidic hit them in. And the pitch, that's a strike. 2-2 now the count. Wiedemeyer delivers. Paderborn and Hamburg are tied 1-1, and the Heidenheim and Regensburg game is just underway. Wiedemeyer delivers, and a hit just foul down the first base line. Third base coach Max Schmidt shouting something back into his dugout. Looks like there might be some changes happening. We'll try and catch up with those. Next inning. Swing and a miss. Strikes out, does Aarons. That's one out now. Bringing to the plate Terrell Joyce, sorry. Be Joyce and then Lamb Hunt. And if we get to him, Wilson Lee. The thick of the order. Fans much happier and less nervous than they were in the first two innings. Swing and miss on that one, 0-1. Terrell Joyce doesn't seem so happy about his attempt at that pitch. Let's see how he responds here. Delivery by Wiedemeyer. And a hit down to third base. Scooped up. Thrown on to first. And that's 2 out. So, with Joyce grounding out, that brings up Daniel Lamb Hunt, who walked his last at-bat. Intentionally walked. Softball game going on just to the left of me. Big hit into left field. Solid hit by Lamb Hunt as he rounds first and looks at second, but decides not to go. That was a great at-bat by Lamb Hunt, who battled Wiedemeyer for a number of pitches, fouling them back, and you could see he was right on them. And then he finally gets one down the center that he likes. That'll bring up Wilson Lee, with 2 out here.
It's about time for Willie to hit something.
2 walks. And then they grounded into a double play in his first at-bat. One would imagine he's hungry for a substantial hit. And that's low and inside. He hasn't had, to be fair, he hasn't had much to hit. Still laughing the fact that they intentionally walked Lamb Hunt to get to him a couple innings ago. Hard hit down to shortstop, throws on to second, steps on the base, and that ends the inning. But Bonn scores 3 runs, and the strength of that home run by Joe Vidic, and we had 2. The top of the 6th inning. 9-3 is the score. We'll be back on Caps TV right after this.
Das ist Mia. Mia hat zu Hause einen richtig schönen Designboden, der aber auch leider oberflächige Schäden und tiefe Kratzer aufweist. Dr. Schütz hat dafür die Lösung mit Produkten für die Reinigung und Pflege, wie das Designboden-Pflegeset und um tiefe Kratzer zu beseitigen, das Scratch Fix Repair Set. Und damit Mia genau weiß, wie man ihre Böden zu Hause perfekt pflegt und schützt, gibt es unsere Tutorials auf dem Dr. Schütz YouTube-Channel. Für Mia und euch alle. Damit muss sich Mia nicht mehr um ihre Böden sorgen, sondern kann ganz beruhigt unsere Caps anfeuern. Go Caps!
Welcome back to Bonn, where the score is 9-3 for the Bonn Capitals over the Wild Farmers. We have, of course, a pitching change. Morris Wilhelm is on the mound, and we see him throw a strike there. 0-2 is the count. Now, Wilhelm has a 1-0 record, 17 innings pitched, 1.04 ERA. Not too bad at all. He has 18 strikeouts and 4 walks on the season. Another change to tell you about, Justice Recchi takes over for Terrell Joyce. He goes to right field. Langhorst moves over from right to center. So I think we're caught up there. Here's something interesting on Wilhelm. He throws a fastball whenever he's got no strike, nobody's on base, almost all of the time. Right? And whenever there's a runner on base, you get to the sliders and the change-ups and all those things. But on that one, we see a big strikeout. So that fastball obviously working for him on that nobody on situation. That'll bring up Westerbocio Cabral with Jap striking out. I should pronounce it correctly. Hyap. And a foul back our way. Wish I had my glove. Cabral flew out to right field and grounded out to the second baseman his first at bat. Bit of a struggle today. He's hitting .341 on the season, though, so the potential is certainly there. So Paderborn's jumped out to a 5-1 lead in Hamburg. I'm not sure if that's any great surprise. Here the score is 9-3 in the top of the 6th inning. And a hit down to third base, just past Wittig at third, gets under his glove. He looked like he struggled with that one coming down as Bosillo goes into second base. We'll call it a double. It almost looked like Wittig was caught off guard there, but perhaps not. It was, of course, a hard hit down to third. Any case, Bosillo's on second. And that brings to the plate Alejandro Giraldo, who had a single on his last at bat. Ronaldo, wearing number 40. Fast runner. He gets it on the ground. You better get that play off, or the throw off anyway. Bosio taking a sizable lead. Second, he threatens to go but doesn't. Back to the pitcher, looks back at the runner back at second, throws onto first base, and we've got our second out. Nice reflexes by Wilhelm on the mound. So Bosio stays at second. That brings up Buhala. He got on last inning and he flew out to the Lankhorst, who was playing right field at the time. Of course, Lankhorst now in center, with Joyce now being replaced in the game with Justice Recchi. And Justice Recchi, I remember he came into the game last night for Joyce. His first at bat smoked a home run. First pitch, exactly. And that's a strike. 0-2. Wilhelm coming on strong. So we established last inning that once there's a runner on, you don't see a lot of fastballs from Wilhelm. About half the time. That looked like a fastball. He scoops that one into right center. Recchi comes over, says thank you very much, snags it, and we go to the bottom of the sixth inning with Bonn leading 9-3. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. 9-3 is the score. In the second game of the quarterfinals between the Wild Farmers and the Bonn Capitals. At the plate, Danny Lankhorst, who had a key 2 RBI single in his last at-bat with the bases loaded. Everybody was very happy about that, of course. I want to provide you some numbers on Marcus Jensen, as was replaced by Wilhelm. And we'll have a chance to do that now as that ball's fouled back. Jansen in this game, earlier on, through 83 pitches, 3 runs, scored, 1 earned against him. Only gave up 1 walk. That's pretty impressive. And had 5 strikeouts. That ball comes in low. But he was probably likely to come in at some point. But the opening pitcher, Jaspreet Shergill, had to go off because at least our guess is that he was feeling something. He was just about to open the inning and looked like he was dizzy or something. Maybe the sun was getting to him. So he had to go off. So Wiedermeyer's had to come in and do some early mop-up work. Lankhorst strikes out. That brings up Nick Michelli. Michelli had a mixed results at the plate today. He grounded out to the shortstop in his last at-bat. Fouled out to the third baseman back in the third, and all the way back in the second inning, he had a walk. So number 19 looking to get his first hit today. Shows bunt, but draws back, and it still comes in for a strike. And why not? If you need to get on, do it by hook or by crook. A bunt isn't the worst idea. In baseball, you tend to do what you can to get on. But as we said before, Michelli, no slouch at the plate, 321 average. There's a reason he's the DH. Swung early at that one and fouls it back. Look, he was way ahead of that pitch. Wiedemeyer looking in. Delivery swing and a miss, and down goes Michelli on strikes. Has 2 strikeouts in a row now for Wiedemeyer. As we were mentioning earlier, the bottom of the Bonn order has struggled the last couple of games, save that 2-run RBI by Langhorst an inning ago. Eddie Schnummel to the plate. He walked in his last at-bat, came around to score on that home run by Joe Vittig. Previous to that, he struck out and grounded out to second base. 1-0 is the count, 2 out. Bottom of the 6th, 9-3. Caps leading the Wild Farmers. Stummel takes a 2-0 count. Fans fully in the sun. Field fully in the sun, except maybe a slice around center field. Wind, not much to speak of there. Still, it was blowing right center, not so much now. Didn't really make a difference to Eric Brink or Joe Vittig. Brink with his 2 home runs, Vittig with his 1. Both of Brink's home runs were into left field. So wind be damned. Eddie Stummel, 3-1 count. Wiedemeyer delivers. Swing and a miss. He gets the full count. Stummel wanted that one, you can tell. And Stummel takes a little trip down to first base with that walk. And that turns the order over to Eric Brink, who you do not want to be facing right now with runners on. But that's exactly what will happen to Wiedemeyer. Eddie Stummel on first base. Eric Brink at the plate. What has he done? Not too much. Just 2 home runs and a single, and scored 3 times. And that comes on top of a big game yesterday with his 2 doubles, a single, and 2 walks. Pitch is low. 2-0. Yeah, of course they're pitching a little carefully to Brink. In fact, if you're thinking of intentionally walking anyone, he might be the guy you want to think about. I don't think that's going to be the case here, of course, with 2 out. However, pitching carefully, I'm sure they will be. That comes in low as well, 3-0. Not sure if Brink's going to see a strike in this at-bat. But if he hangs one in there, or the ball, a mistake is made, and he leaves that over the plate, things can happen. But it's, oh no, he calls it a strike. It looked a little off the plate, but 3-1 is a count. Wiedemeyer delivers. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. Full count now on Eric Brink. Brink looked like he went chasing a bit on that one. Figured he wasn't going to get a great strike. Or a pitch to hit. Takes that one for a strike. Joe Vittig on deck. And Stummel running down to second, but a walk it is. So, Brink doesn't get a chance to, didn't see very many good pitches in that bat to hit. Brings to the plate Joe Vittig. So from one nightmare to the other for for Wiedemeyer in a way, because, you know, you go from the guy that hits 2 home runs and a single and a couple walks to the guy that also just hit a 3-run home run. It's a tough part of the order. Stummel on second, Brink at first, Vittig at the plate. And through the middle, as Stummel comes around third, he will score. As Brink goes into third. And Vittig, RBI single. Right, and that's a good point. We now have, we mentioned that he's a triple away from a cycle. That's absolutely right, Max. You see, we saw Vittig with a double in the first. And we have a little time to talk about this as there's a little conference on the mound. He had a double in the first, Vittig did. Walked in the third, struck out in the fourth. Had a home run in the fifth, 3-run shot, and a single. So, yeah, actually, if he gets a triple in his next at-bat, he's going to hit for the cycle. Always something.
You bet he will try.
You know he will try, absolutely. Vinny Aaron's at the plate as soon as this pitching change is done. And we'll take a little break here, let the pitcher warm up, get his name and all his good stats, and we will be back. 10-3 is the score here on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn, where the score is 10-3. We have a pitching change. We are welcoming into the game Ivan Galkin, who pitched the game yesterday. I think we can leave it at the fact that he had a challenging first inning.
He started the game yesterday.
Yeah, he started the game yesterday. And his ERA is around 9-ish, we'll say. He'll face Vinny Aaron's. Runners at first and third. And a chopper down to the short or second. Bobbles the ball and no. Oh, and they call him out at second, and that didn't look too close to me, but that ends the inning. Yeah. So Vidic slaps the ground. We will be back. It's 10-3 on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. 10-3 is the score. Mars Wilhelm still on the mound for the Bonn Capitals. Caps are the ones leading by 7. At the plate is Henry Guerra. He struck out and flew out to the second baseman in his previous 2 at-bats today. Takes a deep bend at home, and we're underway here in the top of the 7th inning. Strike called. For those of you interested in the out-of-town scores, Paderborn now leading Hamburg 5-1. Heidenheim and Regensburg, no score, bottom of the first. And a foul back into the trees, knocking a few leaves loose. Henry Guerra with a 143 average. Down to third base. Vidic grabs that one. On to first in the dirt. Past the first baseman, Lamb Hunt.
Again, a relatively bad throw. We had that before from Eric Brank, so
That's right.
not much of a chance for Daniel Lampunt there.
Yeah, he's had a hard game at first base due to some of the throws over. Guerra is at second. It's a long throw over. However, you need to get 2. Throw to the chest. That'll bring to the plate top of the order. Turn the order over, and Enriquez will be the batter. He's the second baseman today. Flew out to right field in the last at-bat. Fouls that one back. Flew out to third baseman and had single way back in the first inning. He spent a lot of time in batting practice. Went into the cage a few times. Working on something, perhaps, other than batting, which seemed to be the obvious answer. Was waiting for somebody to give me a comeback on that one. Swing and a miss. Nice pitch by Wilhelm. 1-2 is the count. Runner at second base is Guerra. Big lead. Time called. Guerra has something in his eye or something. Something's up. Gets back in the box. And a chopper out to shortstop. Easy play for Stummel on to first. Throws to his chest that time. And we got an out. Of course, Guerra moves up to third. Brings Del Muro to the plate. Del Muro struck out in his previous at-bat, takes a strike here. Singled in the 2 at-bats before that in each. Came around to score twice. And a pitch away. 1-1. Clouds have sort of moved to the side of the sky. That was like a pool shot. Down first base, but foul.
Broken bat, obviously.
Mm-hmm. You'd hear that one. So he goes back to get a fresh piece of lumber. As I said, the weather is just perfect for a baseball game today.
Yeah, and we are glad that there are more people out here today than yesterday. Yesterday, after the rain, probably most of the people stayed at home.
A foul tip. Catcher catches that one, and he strikes him out. Del Muro down on strikes. That's 2 down. Matusavicius comes up to the plate.
Wow, that was perfect.
Thank you. Today he's walked, struck out twice. A little struggle for number 72. As we see the coach head out. Have a little chat with Mars Wilhelm.
I think
He hands him the ball.
No, he's testing some of the pitchers
Yeah.
today, definitely.
Getting them some work, I'm sure. And Wilhelm, nice job in there today. Gets a good round of applause heading off the mound. Who do we have coming in?
Sammy Steigert will come up.
Sammy Steiger coming up. We'll get his stats. We'll come back to you in just a few minutes as he warms up. Score is 10-3 here in Bonn on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. 10-3 is the score. Caps over the Wild Farmers here in the top of the 7th inning. New pitcher for the Bonn Capitals, Sammy Steigert, who is 4-0 in this season. 20 innings pitched. Sidearm delivery comes in for a ball. 14 hits against him all year, but here's the thing. He's only given up 2 runs. I mean, that's pretty spectacular. 16 strikeouts on the year. Sidearm delivery almost looked back like it curved back into the zone, but it did not. It's a .87 ERA. Impressive. Anywhere. Fouled back. 2-1 is count. Not tall in stature, but solid as a pitcher. And a weak pop-up to first base by Lam Hunt. Grabs it and ends the inning. 10-3 is the score. We'll be back for the bottom of the 7th right after this on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. 10-3 is the score. Justice Recchi at the plate. Yesterday he comes into the game for Tyrell Joyce. On the first pitch that he sees, he hits a home run, and he's going to be facing a different pitcher. This will be the 4th one of the game for the Wild Farmers. Your friend and mine, Matusavicius Eduardo, will be pitching. Now, he is not a bad pitcher at all. It's .66 ERA. Throw some heat. That fastball comes in for a strike. 22 strikeouts on the year. Eduardo. And Recchi just gets out of the way. Had to do a little shimmy shake there. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's in there for a strike. Oh, you throw some heat. Bottom of the 7th inning. Score is 10-9. Or sorry, 10-3.
10-9 would be a tight game.
Don't know what overcame me.
He called it a strike.
He called it a strike. That's a
So it was a
strikeout, so 1 out. Watching the heat being thrown. Daniel Lamb Hunt comes to the plate. Now we had another change. I think Sebastian Yap is in the first. He's on first base now for the Wild Farmers.
And for the rest, I will tell you later.
Yeah, we'll catch up. So somebody else is obviously the DH now. Someone has to take. Oh, swing and a miss. So Bonn is having a little bit of trouble catching up. I'm still a little confused as to why they wouldn't have put Madusavicius in a little bit earlier in the game. Another strike to Daniel Lamb Hunt, who shakes his head. Obviously not agreeing with that call.
So Emke is now center field, moved from first base to center field.
Okay.
And Yap, as you said, from DH to first base.
Okay.
And that's it, because they don't have a DH anymore, because Matuzevicius is the pitcher. So
Right. Okay. So MK to center. Thank you, Angela. 1-2 is the count. 1 out. Daniel Lamb Hunt at the plate. Matuzevicius on the mound. Yeah, they're having a hard time catching up to his fastball after facing. Let's see, we've had a bit of a lineup of pitchers of Ivan Galkin, Janis Wiedemeyer, and Jaspreet Shergill. They also saw a sidearm delivery earlier on in the game as well. Bonn did, so have to adjust. Baseball is a game of adjustments, of course. And he reaches for that and sends that into left field for a single, does Lamb Hunt. Number 15 rounds first base, and the crowd gives him a hand. Wilson Lee comes up, single in his last at-bat, 2 walks before that, and a single. Oh. 2 for 4 today. 4 times on base, though. That's outside. Oh, it looked outside, but that comes in for a strike. Raise an interesting point. People are sometimes confused of what's the difference between, batting average and on-base percentage. Well, batting average is simply how many times you get a hit versus how many times you come up to the bat. Walks are not counted in that, of course, whereas on-base percentage, they are, as are a number of other things, such as fielding errors, fielding choice, dropped, uncaught third strike, fielder's obstruction, catcher's interference. So some people say that the on-base percentage is a better way to measure the skill of a player. In any case, that's the difference. And throw on to first, he's out. Is Wilson Lee. Lamb Hunt moves up to second. So I want to clarify that. On-base percentage does not measure things such as fielding error, fielder's choice, dropped, third strike, and that sort of thing. So there's no confusion. Number 37, Danny Langhorst is up. He struck out in his last at-bat, but got a key RBI. Back in the 4th inning, drove in 2 runs, which really was a turning point in the game at that point. With that pass ball, Daniel Lamb Hunt moves up to third base, rounds third, takes a look at home, hoping to get there soon. Despite the 7-run difference, the fans still very much in the game. They want to see Bonn close out this series today in 2 games instead of 3. Pitch on the way. Down to first. First baseman Yap grabs it, touches first, and that ends the inning. No runs, 1 hit. We head to the bottom of,
To the top of the
sorry,
8th.
top of the 8th inning here in Bonn, where Bonn leads 10-3 over the Wild Farmers. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. 10-3 is the score. Caps out in front of the Wild Farmers. Sammy Seagout still on the mound. Sidearm delivery. 2-0 is the count. There comes in for a strike. Scoreboard says 1-1, but I could have sworn I've seen 2 balls. Anyway, splits the first and second base. Stummel goes down, but doesn't quite get to it. Into right field. That's a single for Mike MK. Leadoff man is on, bringing up Sebastian Yap, who's now at the first base position today. Number 28 looks down to his coach. MK takes his lead at first. And that's a strike. He struck out twice today. Had a single back in the first. Yap has. That's a strike. It's 0-2.
So if they come that way, they are floating into the strike zone.
Mhm.
So
He's starting to get that call now. Sidearm in. Swing and a miss. He strikes out. 1 down. That brings up Osio.
so he will bring in more pitchers.
Oh, another change of
yeah.
pitchers. He's given everybody a turn. As is Coach Matt Schmidt.
Everybody gets 1 or 2 strikeouts, and then you can leave.
When's my turn? Anyway, we'll get back to you as soon as we have the numbers here in Bonn on Caps TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Bonn, where the score is 10-3 for the Capitals over the Wild Farmers, and we have a new pitcher, Nick Michelli.
Yeah, so Max Schmitz gives each pitcher the chance to have a few throws. So
Yeah, Michelli's record 1-0, 7 innings pitched. Let's get to the good stuff. 2 walks all year, strikeouts 15, and an ERA of about 3.6. He is facing Osio, who has doubled and flown out to right field and grounded out to the second baseman in this game. So runner on first, MK. Big swing and a miss. The ump goes out. Gives him the ball personally.
yeah, he was tired of standing all this time on the same spot.
Yeah. That's Jason Livio.
Lillebo, yeah.
Lillebo, sorry, as home plate. Calling the balls and strikes, and it's 1-2 count now that he's called. Chelly looks in, looks at the runner, MK at first base. And a high pop-up, but for the infield. Who's going to grab that? It looks like Lamb Hunt will, and he does. 2 down. So Nick Michelli comes in, gets an immediate out. And bring up Alejandro Giraldo. He's 1 for 3 today. Single back in the 4th. And a strike call from Michelli. Bit of a curve to that pitch, but it doesn't make it back into the zone. 1-1. Perhaps didn't have the movement expected. One thing I like about coming to the games and seeing the fans walk by underneath us, all the different teams that they like. I see a Detroit Tigers hat, New York Mets. Unfortunately, I saw Derek Jeter New York Yankees jersey. Give that gentleman wide berth. Throw over to first, and he's back all right. Nothing personally against Jeter. I just despise the New York Yankees, as I think 90%, no, let's be fair, 99% of the world. And a hit to third base. Vidig throws onto first again in the dirt. And again, Lamb Hunt has trouble with that. Vidig has had some challenges at third today.
And Lamb Hunt has some challenges on first base.
Sure.
I mean, Lamb Hunt does not play first base all the time. So
No, good point.
This
Good point,
is
Angela.
also something where he's not used to have these hop balls, you know. So.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the throw could have been better.
Yeah, in any case, we've got runners on second is MK, and then on first base, Oraldo. Two out, though. Michelli sends in a nice-looking pitch, but umpire says it's low. Buhala is the batter. Also 1 for 3 today. Flown out a couple of times as well to right and to center. Swing and a miss. Took something off that pitch and fooled him. 1-1. 2 out. 10-3 is the score. Top of the 8th inning here in Bonn. Clouds starting to roll in a bit. Wind picking up, blowing out to
a
center.
little bit of wind coming up.
Center right, yeah. Interesting game, a game in which we've seen Eric Brank hit a couple of home runs, and Joe Vidig, 3-run home run as well. Lots of good things. Michelli has some good movement on that pitch, and Buhala is struggling a bit at the plate with him. Two and two is the count, 2 out. Number 41 at the plate. And a swing and chopper back up the middle. Brink tries to get there, but it's through, and around comes NK, and he will score. Now, Geraldo stays at second base. Wasn't sure if he's going to move up to third, but he stays there. So the score is now 10-4. Brink tried. Took a diving jump for that one. Didn't quite get there. Henry Guerra at the plate. He's had a rough day at the plate. 0 for 3. Check swing, foul. Runners on first and second for the Wild Farmers. And a hit. Down to third base. Vidig scoops it up. This time to first. Hits the Lamb Hunt up high. And 3 out. 10-4 is the score here. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Okay, welcome back to Bonn. 10-4 is the score as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. Danny Michelli goes from the mound to the plate, grabs a bat, wants to do some damage. He's had a hard time at the plate today. 0 for 4. Walk, though, in the second. Matusavicius is still on the mound for the Wild Farmers. He's the 4th pitcher that Bonn has faced today. So we started with Jaspreet Shergill, Yanis Wiedemeyer, Ivan Galkin, and now Matusavicius. And he throws heat. But he throws them for balls in this at bat, 2-0. Count. Nick Michelli can help his own chaos on the mound. And he sends one into center field. Center fielder has to run for it, but drops just in front of him. And Michelli is on base to get things started here in the bottom of the 8th inning for the Bonn Capitals. Eddie Stummel comes to the plate. Walked twice. Came around to score in the 5th. Struck out in the 3rd and grounded out to the second baseman in the 2nd inning. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 8th. Matusavicius on the mound, throws it in for a strike.
Our outfield camera was moved by magic hands, so you can hardly see the banner anymore.
Oh dear.
Because somebody out there, the wind or whatever, moved our camera a little bit.
I see. We'll do our best to describe.
You can still see the bat.
All right, so that's a strike. Yeah, and I see that we've moved, have a different perspective now. There we go. We see a little more of home plate. All right. Any case, Michelli on first base. Stummel at the plate. Nobody out. Throws back. Nothing happening at first. I'm sure Bonn would like to get a couple of more insurance runs. Stummel resting that bat in his shoulder till it's time to make a move, and he watches that come in for ball. Michelli has 4 stolen bases on the season, so he can run. Swing and a miss. The catcher drops the ball. And so that's it for Stummel for his at-bat as he strikes out. And that flips the order over to the very hot-hitting Eric Brank. Michelli stays at first base. Eric Brank has homered twice today and has a single and has walked. He's crossed home plate 3 times. And that one's called a ball. Umpire had to think about that one for a second. Brank a little bit off that place, a little bit harder to see perhaps. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to see at home. Again, the camera is just blown slightly off. One of those seagulls has probably foiled our attempts to get a clear shot. Sat on it,
moved it.
had a French fry dinner, moved it. We got to get one of those bat boys for the camera. Go run out there, youngster, and fix a camera. That's a strike. So 1-1. Always impressed by the fact that here in Bonn, not to blow our own horns too much, but I mean, we've got 5 cameras. That's pretty good. Of course, we've only got a couple of people running the whole show, so to run out into center field in the middle of the game is a little tough.
We have done that yesterday.
But we've done it.
Because there's some magic, whatever, with our outfield camera. It always moves during the game.
Yeah, I see the wind is picked. Who knows if that's what did it, but foul straight back. Brank was on top of that one, so 2-1. Just like last time, he's not getting a whole bunch of great pitches, but that one, I'm sure he'd like to have back. Matsushita sets and delivers. Michelli on first base. Swing and a miss. So he strikes out Brink as well. That's the first time I've seen Brink. So 2 strike cycle, of course. Let's see if he gets it. Triple is probably the hardest one to get, of course. That would be something. We've seen a little bit of something, of everything in this series. 0-1 is the count now in Vitesse. There will not be a game after this. If the Wild Farmers somehow manage to come back, there will be. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. Wow, he wanted that one. I don't think he was going for a triple. I think he was going for the moon on that shot. Michelli bouncing at first base. Takes his lead. Wittig at the plate. Delivery is inside. 2-2. Michelli, same position he's been in for a while now at first base. Waits for the 2-2 delivery. Here it comes, and it's outside. 3-2 full count now. Doesn't get any easier after Wittig, with Vinny Aarons and Recchi and Lamb Hunt due up. All of whom have done well today. And Michelli goes. Swing and a miss, and that'll be the 3rd strikeout. 3 strikeouts for Matsushita, and that'll end the inning. Head to the top of the 9th here in Bonn. 10-4 is the score. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn. 10-4 the score. Top of the 9th inning. Top of the order. Zaino Enriquez is at bat. And we have a new pitcher for Bonn who is welcomed in with a rousing round of applause. Paul Schmitz. He's only pitched couple of innings this year due to an injury, I believe. What do we know about Mr. Schmitz, Angela?
Actually, he's a youngster. He's 17 years old, and like Noah Lind yesterday, he played at the U18 European Championships. With first thing is they had the third seeded, so they had the bronze medal, and he was named best pitcher of the tournament.
I see. Nice accomplishment. Comes into this game. We've seen a lot of pitchers this game, both teams. So Schmitz is in. Nick Michelli was before him. Sammy Siegert before him. Marcus Wilhelm before him. And Marcus Jensen started the game. And a hit into right field. Enriquez stays at first base. That was good to hold him to a single on that one, because that was hit right into the corner. Enriquez at first base. That'll bring up Del Muro. Struck out in his last two at-bats. Del Muro has. Del Muro has a .318 average. And the pitch comes in for a strike. 0-1. Bonn hoping to close things out here. Again, doesn't look like we're going to be having a second game today. And a funky little delivery pitch popped up into right field, and Recchi comes in and takes it.
We should talk about next weekend. So
Let's
it
do it.
looks like Paderborn will qualify for the semifinals. So that means the Capitals are playing Paderborn here in Bonn. It's the same setup with like playing one game at Saturday and probably one or two on Sunday. But the timing is not set yet, because we always talk to the opponent about what time will be the game on Saturday.
All right.
So most likely it will be an evening game again, but right now we don't know. So, but read our digital media and you will know.
That's right.
So it looks like Bonn is facing Paderborn.
Very good. Should also be a good series. Here, count is 1-1 on the pitcher. Edvardas Matusevicius. And a throw over to first base, but nothing happening over there with Enriquez. He gets back safely. And that pitch comes in high. 3-1. One out, top of the ninth inning, 10-4 for the Capitals. And a foul back. And a chunk of leaves comes down into the stands. Little souvenir. And he loses Matusevicius on a walk. So, runners at first and second now, with Mike Emke, the best hitter for the Wild Farmers, coming up. Paul Schmitz in it a little bit here in the top of the ninth. Enriquez at second. Matusevicius at first. And he fouls that one back. 0-1 is the count. Looking back at the runner. Delivery. Low. 1-1. Let's hope we have good weather again next weekend for those games against Paderborn. And a strike called. 1-2 now. Paul Schmitz looking into his catcher, Vinny Ahrens. Enriquez not moving too much at second base. MK is a healthy lead at first. But they're not going anywhere. At least there's been no indication of that as we see another foul off. Clouds starting to roll in. Probably a good time to get a game finished with before we see any drops. And the pitch is high. Fans eager to have Paul Schmitz finish things off. 2-2 is the count. And a single at least into right field. The ball's thrown back in. Runners stay. Enriquez. Oh, there's two runners now at third base. He touches Enriquez. Now throws back to second base. They've got MK in a rundown. Bad mistake by MK. It looked like a double play to me. I'm not sure if Enriquez had gone back and touched the bag before he got tagged. But there's a question about that. Right now, Joe Vidig is also asking the umpire about that. The umpire, Max Schmitz comes out and talks to the umpire, saying that he tagged him.
Yeah, but was he back on base? That's the question.
And from my view up here, and we do have a view overseeing things, it looked to me like he tagged him before he got back to the bag. Because we had a situation where he had two. MK wasn't paying attention. He thought Enriquez was coming around to score. So he went to third base, and he showed up, and Enriquez is already standing there. Enriquez has gone off the bag a little bit, and it looked like he'd been tagged. But they're saying that he got back in time. So what we have is 2 out now. That's the bottom line. Nobody scored. MK was out. All right. Now that the dust is settled. Sorry, the runner I was talking about was not MK. MK is at first base. It was Matusavicius who was the one caught in that rundown. Got my players switched around there a little bit. Runners on the corners, though. Enriquez is still at third. MK is at first base. At the plate, Sebastian, he struck out 3 times today out of his 4 appearances at the plate. And goes back to the plate. The runner's coming home, and that run will score. Enriquez comes in and touches the plate, and the runner moves up to second base. MK. Pitch. It comes in high. 3-0. So Paul Schmitz comes in and struggles a little bit. They're a bit lucky on that base running error. Yeah, and you never even bothered thinking about swinging at that pitch. He goes down to first base.
So Maurice Willem will talk to Paul now.
Yeah. Have a little chat with the youngster. Say it's okay. Still have a 5-run lead, but let's not get things out of it. Let's not let them get out of hand. I mean, they're lucky that they had that base running mistake by the Wild Farmers. In any case, Bosio is the batter. He flew out to first base. He had a double in the sixth. He flew out to the right fielder in the fourth, and in the first inning, he grounded out to the second baseman. So he's only got a hit today in 4 appearances. But he has runners on first and second, yep, and MK. And that's a strike. The crowd is like, come on, let's get this thing finished. Don't keep us hanging on. Paul Schmitz looks in, delivers. Check swing, foul, 0-2. So, Wild Farmers down to their final strike with 2 runners on. Don't forget about next week. Check the website for the details of the games. And that pitch is high. 1-2. 2 out, 10-5. Bonn leading the Wild Farmers.
So whenever this game is finished, you will wait a second, stay online, because we
Chopper
will
to the third. On to first, way high. He sails that throw. And a runner another run scores.
That was a bad throw by Wittig again. So
That indeed was not a great throw. Right, so it's 10-6 now. And there's a runner at the corners for the Wild Farmers.
I think that gives some throwing practice to Wittig next week. So
Perhaps.
I just wanted to say, whenever the game is finished, you will have, as always, our post-game interview with Max Schmitz immediately afterwards. So stay tuned.
Look forward to that. Runner on third is Yap. The runner at first is Bosio. At the plate, we have Alejandro Giraldo. Now we're going down to the final third of the order for the Wild Farmers, who have struggled. And that's a strike. Again, 1-1 is the count. Reached on an error from the third. Well, he reached on a throwing error by Wittig last inning. Grounded out, flew out, and singled. So he's 1 for 4 by my count, if you include that as an error earlier on. Delivery. Now we must also add, Wittig is the one with a 3-run homer in this game as well.
Yeah, both sides of him. So
That's right. Runners on the corner, 2 out. Strike. Full count. Bonn trying to finish this game. Paul Schmidt coming on, trying to work his way out of this situation and give Bonn the victory for the game in the series, and make sure you do stay tuned. Although I'd like not to jinx us. Foul back. We do it all over again here. 3-2. 2 out. Top of the 9th. Wild Farmers again down to their final strike. And the runners go and fouled back. The trees are taking a beating today as the kids scramble for that. Geraldo steps in. Schmitz on the mound. 3-2 delivery. And that's it. Strikes him out. Game over. Series over. Now, final score here in Bonn is 10-6. Lots of good things happening in today's game as the players come out and extremely happy about finishing off the Wild Farmers. A lot of good things happen, as I said. I mean, the best thing that I saw has to be Eric Brink in his strong game. 2 home runs, single, a walk, and 3-run home run by Wittig. also very, very strong to see as the Bonn Capitals are out there celebrating. Do stick around. We're going to be having an interview with Max Smith, the coach of the Bonn Capitals. And it's good to see the players out there in a manner of good sportsmanship. Both teams. Saw some pitching today that was very good. Jensen, Wilhelm, Steiget, Michelli, Smits from the other team, the Wild Farmers. We saw Shergill, who had to go off with an injury, Janis Galkin, and Matusevicius. I guess I won't be saying mangling that name too many more times this year, so I'm sure. Anyway, let's go down to the field.
Hast du Ton? Für unsere neue Sponsorenwand. Ja, war ein spannendes Spiel jetzt am Schluss nochmal, aber du hast ja alle Pitcher eingesetzt, die du so hast im Bullpen. Guck mal einfach jetzt mal erst auf das zweite Spiel heute. War ein ganz anderes als gestern, ja?
Ja, auf jeden Fall war ein bisschen was anderes. Unsere Offensive hatte vor allem in den frühen Innings ein bisschen was zu kämpfen mit den gegnerischen Pitchern. Die Doren haben das echt gut gemacht, aber das wussten wir von vornherein. Das ist ein Team, was nie aufgibt und mit sehr viel Herz spielt und sehr viel Energie und von daher tip our head. Aber meine Jungs in Weiß und Grün sind einfach zu gut offensiv, als dass man uns für 9 Innings kurz halten kann.
Ich wollte gerade sagen, also gestern und heute zusammen habt ihr ja immerhin 31 Runs zusammengebracht. Das ist ja nicht wenig. 6 Home Runs, also die Offensive hat das gezeigt, was sie kann.
Absolut und durch die Bank weg. Wir wissen, dass wir von 1 bis 9 sehr stark sind. Wir wissen, dass wir von 1 bis 9 einen Home Run hauen können. Und das Coole ist, dass es jedes Spiel ein anderer ist, der da heraussticht. Und am Ende des Tages sind wir aber eine Einheit und ein Team, was extrem schwer zu schlagen ist.
Das steckt dann auch so ein paar Fehler in der Verteidigung weg, ne? Also ein paar schlechte Würfe und so an 1 waren schon dabei.
Ja, das ist gleich die Ansage an die Mannschaft auf jeden Fall. Jetzt sich darauf auszuruhen, auf dieser Leistung, das darf uns nicht passieren. Wir müssen weiter hart an uns arbeiten, wir müssen die Fehler ausmerzen, gerade defensiv, auch im Pitching, wir müssen attackieren. Unsere Defensive muss solider dahinter stehen, weil ansonsten müssen unsere Pitcher mehr arbeiten. Das ist ein Luxus, den können wir uns gegen bessere Teams nicht leisten.
Es sieht so aus im Moment, als wenn Paderborn der Gegner sein wird. Die führen gegen Hamburg im zweiten Spiel. Ausblick auf nächstes Wochenende?
Ja, warten wir ab. Also Paderborn wird ein extrem starker Gegner sein. Ich meine, wir haben es auch hier in der Rheinaue gesehen. Wir haben zwar 2 Spiele gegen die gewonnen, aber das ist eine fitte Truppe. Und die werden sich auch mit Sicherheit innerhalb der Saison weiterentwickelt haben sich auch nochmal verstärkt mit 2 Venezolanern. Und von daher, ich denke, das wird ein guter Fight. Das wird auf jeden Fall was Spannendes.
Also viel Erfolg fürs Halbfinale nächste Woche und vielen Dank und schönen Gruß ans Team. Wir sind damit durch für heute. Nächstes Wochenende, wie schon kurz angekündigt. Die Uhrzeiten wissen wir noch nicht genau. Es wird Samstag und Sonntag wieder gespielt, das Halbfinale wieder Best of 3. Und wer 2 Spiele gewinnt, kommt weiter ins Finale. Und den Gegner dort kennen wir natürlich auch noch nicht. Und ansonsten würde ich sagen, schönen Sonntag noch und macht es gut.